Ukiah Unified YouTube channel. Please have your microphones turned on when you're speaking. There's an orange button that'll let you know that it's on. If an audience member wishes to address the board, please fill out a public comment form and present it to Debbie up front prior to the beginning of public comment. Public comment is taken for items not on the agenda. Each speaker is given 3 minutes. A total of 15 minutes is allocated for the public to address items not on the agenda. Public comments for items on the agenda is taken at the time of the item. Each speaker is given 3 minutes, and a total of 15 minutes per agenda topic is allocated for the public to address items on the agenda. So if we can all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, and a report out from closed session.
Yes, the board discussed item B1, B2, B3, B7, and B8. And the report out is regarding a request from a classified employee for a leave of absence from 2/26/25 to 5/12/2025. Moved by Fernandez, seconded by Nelson to approve that leave request. Roll call vote, 7-0. Another classified employee leave of absence request from February 3rd to March 5th, 2025 was approved. Moved by Fernandez, seconded by Bailey, 7-0. Roll call vote. And finally, a certificated leave of absence request for the next school year. It was moved by Fernandez, seconded by Orozco, 7-0, roll call vote approved. Wait, one more, sorry. Another unpaid leave request of a certificated employee from February 17th. This is a part-time leave request, 2025 to May 23rd, 2025. That was approved by 7-0 roll call vote. It was moved by Fernandez, seconded by Orozco. That is all.
All right, thank you. And do we have a motion for an approval of tonight's agenda?
I so move.
I second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed or abstentions? All right. And do we have a motion for item C5, approval of our consent agenda?
So moved.
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed and abstentions? Thank you. Moving on to item C6, acceptance of donations. If you give me 1 second, I want to pull that up. Looks like we have a lot of generous donations totaling $8,130. Do we have a motion for the acceptance of donations?
I so move with gratitude.
I second it with gratitude as well.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Thank you. And moving on to C7, Student Advisory Report. Skylar, welcome.
Hi. Okay. So we've been working on quite a few things lately at the high school, quite a few new things as well. So tonight is actually the Sweetheart Dance that we're doing this year instead of Winter Ball. And we've gotten so far more participation in Winter Ball last year, so that's really good. And we just finished up the Spirit Week as well. Next week is Black History Week, where Monday we don't have school. Tuesday we'll be celebrating Black-owned businesses and hearing from entrepreneurs. Wednesday we will have a music performance. Thursday is Clubs Day, and Friday we will have a guest speaker named Lamar Wobble, so that is super exciting and new. Leadership right now is mostly focusing on a leadership conference with the middle schools that we're planning on putting together to introduce them to the leadership class, ASB, It's going to be super fun, so we're working on that. The seniors are planning their senior trip and senior recess, which is a new thing we're doing this year as well. It's just like recess. It's like a last recess for the seniors, so that's a cool thing that we're doing. And sports have been pretty good as well. The girls' basketball team just won their first playoff game last night, so that's super good. And yeah, everything's been going pretty well. So, yeah.
Questions or comments from the board?
I have comment. I didn't hear, did you say anything about the mock trial?
Yeah, mock trial just won in Fort Bragg, I believe. So, and they're going to be going to state now, I think, in Los Angeles. So that's really exciting.
And Skylar, we know you have a dance tonight, so you will not be rude if you get up and leave.
Thank you. All right, moving on to item C8.
She's hoping that you'll call on UTA first. Sarah
All right.
is. Would you mind?
Mr.
She
Small?
just whispered to me.
Perfect, thank you.
Good evening to the board and Superintendent Kubin. I'm here on behalf of UTA. I'm Josh Small, the choir director at Ukiah High School in Pomalita, and also a bargaining member of UTA. I asked for program updates from our visual and performing arts educators throughout the district, and here's a summary of the programs who provided an overview of the fantastic work being done by our students. First up was from David Post, our elementary music teacher at Nokomis. Nokomis Elementary recently hosted 3 successful concerts featuring K-5 students performing songs such as Doe a Deer, The Lion Sleeps Tonight, and All I Really Need is a Song in My Heart. The concerts highlighted student rhythm reading skills, Kodai hand signals, and an introduction to piano basics and note reading. Each event opened with a student-led hand percussion processional and a demonstration on our new African drums, all met with enthusiastic applause from families and staff. Looking ahead, every grade will participate in a musical theater production. K1 will be doing Goldilocks and the Three Bears. 2 and 3s will be doing Trouble in Fuzzyland. And 4 and 5th graders will be doing Disney's Aladdin. The performance dates, I printed out what I'm reading for all of you guys so you don't have to jot all this down. May looks very busy. Going to our theater program, Chris Dothett wrote that the theater program at UHS is thriving. After a semester of scene work, students have transitioned to monologues, with advanced drama focusing on Shakespeare. Advanced students are also traveling to local middle schools and collaborating with Ukiah Players Theater for a murder mystery dinner that's actually happening this weekend, as well as an improv show on March 28th. In his stagecraft class, students are engaged in a puppet-making unit, creating impressive pieces. Later this year, actors and stagecraft students will collaborate with the Scrubs class to stage a simulated emergency scenario, providing a unique interdisciplinary learning experience. Miss Easterbrook, our art teacher at the high school, wrote that the UHS art program continues to provide students with exciting opportunities for creative expression. Current projects include Intro to Art students collaborating on an exhibit for the Little Fridge Gallery, drawing students creating lino-cut prints, and advanced art students producing dry point etchings using our etching press. Looking ahead, students may have their work featured in the Medium Gallery Youth Show, opening March's first Friday. Additionally, advanced art students' charcoal drawings are now on display in the library at the high school, providing an inspiring showcase of student talent. For choral music, that would be me. I'm happy to report that numbers are up and our choirs are growing at both Pomalita and Ukiah High School. This year we have 2 choirs at the high school, concert choir, which is almost 30 voices, and vocal ensemble, which is 19, and Pomalita has 1 choir of 29 as well. I'm pleased to share that we also have 2 piano classes this year at Pomalita, with most students being in their first year, but we did have 2 that are continuing for a second year of piano, and they're doing extremely well in spite of their teacher. In October of this year, choirs performed at both schools. They performed their fall shows. In December, they combined for their Tinsel holiday show. In January, I took the high school choir to Sacramento. They went on a Capitol tour. They got to see Hamilton live, which was amazing. Pomalita choir students participated in the annual road show, performing at all of the elementary schools for incoming 5th graders. Just last weekend, both Ms. McCombs and I, we took about 16 kids between the two of us, who were selected to participate in the Northern California Honor Band and Choir weekend in Chico State, where they joined 90 other singers from all of NorCal and worked with actually one of my college mentors and directors, John Tabay. You can see some upcoming performances and activities. The middle school's going to see a musical down in Santa Rosa JC. The high school's putting on their big spring show in May, and then we'll be performing at graduation. From instrumental music at the high school, that's Ms. McCombs. She wrote, "It has been an exciting year for the instrumental music program. Highlights include a successful Halloween band tour of elementary schools, 4 students accepted into the NorCal Honor Band, 3 earned first chair through their auditions, which means that they were playing the best out of those that auditioned, and one of our students, Madeline Sprague, actually received a scholarship for her playing and for continuing in music education going after high school. Students are heading to the All-Region Honor Band in Humboldt and the Mendo Lake Honor Band in Kelseyville this March, and Norteña groups performing at the Spring Dance Show and its space production of the Santa Rosa Youth Mariachi Concert. Something that is super exciting for us, especially as a music educator. She wrote, "A particularly special event is coming up this weekend when a Norteña group will be traveling to Spokane, Washington to perform at the National Association of Music Education Conference, which is huge. Their presentation will introduce music educators to Norteña music as an alternative to mariachi for engaging Latino students, which is an incredible opportunity for our program and just speaks to the work that Ms. McCombs is doing with our students and with our community. It's absolutely incredible. She did not put in there that she's on her way to Spokane, Washington this weekend, and Mr. Johnson, our retired band director, and Mr. Goldie, our director at Pomalita, are taking her marching band down to Cloverdale to march in the parade this weekend. She hasn't figured out how to clone herself yet. The dance program, which is run by Miss Porter, wrote that the dance department has had a dynamic year, beginning with hosting a Sacramento State Dance Team Clinic, a free event attended by over 120 dancers from Ukiah High School, Annalee, and Montgomery High. Students also performed at the Pumpkin Fest, joined the Golden Cats dance team for halftime show featuring Ghostbusters, and presented a production of The Grinch at the holiday rally. Now, preparations are underway for the Spring Dance Show, which will showcase over 60 dancers from the UHS Dance Department and Golden Cats dance team. This production will feature a full stage and music crew with students from the vocal music and band programs, making it a truly collaborative performance. Last but not least, instrumental music by Mr. Goldie at Pomalita. Pomalita's bands have had a successful year, highlighted by well-received fall and winter concerts. The program is now preparing for the all-district concert at the end of the month, to which all board members and superintendents are invited. Additionally, 16 students will represent Pomalita in the return of the Mendo Lake County Honor Band concert in late March. Looking ahead, the band is gearing up to compete in the Music in the Parks Festival in early May. They have a district band concert on the 26th of this month, Mendo Lake Honor Band March 21st, competition in May, and their final concert for the year on May 19th. Each of these programs is providing students with exceptional opportunities for artistic and personal growth, and we all really, really appreciate the ongoing support of the school board, of families, and the community in making these experiences possible. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Josh and UTA. Ms. Sarah?
Can I just make a comment?
Please.
It's really nice to have this, I'm glad it's written too, because I can reread it again, but it's really nice to sort of see what's happening in the arts throughout the district. So thank you for compiling it. It's quite informative and wonderful to see so many activities.
I just really wanted to say the same. It's just so extensive and it's great. I mean, arts, music, the whole works. You've done a wonderful job. And, you know, all of you guys who have done that, I really appreciate it. It's so nice to hear that. And there was another question I had. Now, you mentioned the choir, but we don't have it at Eagle Peak?
There's no choir currently at Eagle Peak. I did reach out to the band director. He did not have a chance to get back to me, but there's no choir there yet. I think Dan's trying to work on it.
Just, you're working on it.
Yeah, I hope so.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
My turn. Good evening, Board of Trustees and Superintendent Cuban. Welcome back, Tyler. Happy to see you here. So a little update. Oh, who am I? I'm Sarah Dixon. I'm a bus driver, Vice President for CSEA, and I'm also on the bargaining unit. An update is we had a meeting last month, I believe our meeting, we voted to, CSEA members voted to donate $5,000 to CSEA members affected by the LA fires. We closed negotiations Tuesday for the 24-25 school year. We didn't ratify anything, so there's not really much to report out on that. We are opening negotiations for the 25-26 school year in April, which is our successor year, so we have to open it a little bit early. May 18th through 24th is Classified Employees Week. We'll be having a barbecue on May 23rd at the Lions Park. And last year we joined with the Personnel Commission, did it together, and it was a big success, so we are doing that again. And it's for employees and their families. We have Paraeducator Conference coming up. Today was the cutoff for that, so we're not sending anybody this year, but we are talking about getting people, trying to find out who would be interested in that to help our students throughout the year. You know, send employees to bring back information to help better support our students. So we're hoping to be able to send people to that next year. And then we have multiple CSEA trainings coming up, which we do have members interested in. There's a couple going on right now that some of us are in the union steward training. I forget the names of the other ones that are coming up, but there's a lot coming up, and we do have members interested in doing that. And other than that, there's really nothing to report.
Questions or comments from the board? Right. Thank you both, and hope you have a nice, relaxing 4 days off. Moving on to item C9, Dr. Alvarez, welcome.
Short people problems. Okay, good evening, board and Superintendent Cuban. I'm going to take as short amount of time as possible to tell you all the wonderful things our staff and student leadership is doing at Ukiah High School. And it's a lot. I was told 3 slides. You have a few more than that. So I also wanted to say it's really cool to be here right now in February. We're just a handful of days away from the 2-year mark that I have in my calendar of the day I came to Ukiah for the first time. And I always want to say auditioned for the job as principal because that's the band director in me, but almost 2 years to the day that I accepted the job here. So the big focus that we have turned to since me becoming principal at Ukiah High School is taking all of these really amazing things that are already happening at Ukiah High School and moving them from things we do to who we are. And that's the big overarching push last year and this year. I don't have to bring a lot of change. I know the word change is in there. We're changing what we do to who we are, but the change is just the realization that our students have a voice, that our staff can be empowered, and that together we can be who we say we are instead of just say these are the things we do at the school. That being said, some ideas on how we are making this change into who we are. Again, raising student voice. Skylar brought up some really great activities. She undersold senior recess, by the way. They are planning to have juice boxes and Uncrustables and cheese sticks from the cafeteria. They're going to have the big parachutes they're borrowing from the elementary schools. They really just want to have a recess for the last time. It is the most adorable thing I've ever heard. They had a too old to trick or treat event that I thought was going to be a dud, and what do I know? We gave little bags of candy to the teachers that wanted to participate, and at the end of the school day, students went around with bags and went trick-or-treating in the hallways of the school. So the seniors, or the leadership class, is doing a really great job of putting together a year-long of activities. So what we do is not just homecoming. Homecoming is a part of who we are, and how do we do more of that throughout the year, and they're doing a great job. We've brought back our PBIS team who's now meeting and strengthening ICPC. We have quarterly ICPC awards that are the award recipients are chosen by the campus culture students, and they choose 4 students and 4 staff members to receive each quarter. First quarter was integrity, second quarter compassion. This quarter they're collecting nominations for productivity. Next quarter they'll do one for creativity. And so all the nominations are under that ICPC. Again, already exists. We're making it who we are instead of just banners hanging around the school. The year of events with leadership, training our ASB students on how to be more empowered. Minga's a big one. If you've heard Minga, it's really helped to communicate with students, whereas we used Google Classroom in the past, and we know parents and staff and students alike probably get hundreds of emails a day. Our communication to students was getting lost in Google email, so we moved to Minga that is helping students empower themselves. ASB is making videos, and if you haven't seen them, they're also the coolest thing. It's not like, award-winning videos, but they're communicating to their peers about activities coming up. There was a video announcing tonight's dance, and they sold almost 300 tickets for this versus about half that amount for Winter Ball last year. So Minga's really helping us communicate. Our cell phone policy, our peer counseling, working in the freshman advisory. We moved biomass screening as a district to the 9th graders, which has helped us to identify students who need higher tiered level supports. And we have groups in content areas for students that need higher level supports in relationship building, in healthy relationships, in drug and alcohol counseling, in family matters. We are able to address all of these. So these, again, the Golden State Pathways Grant has helped us a lot too. We're looking at adding CNA pathway to our school in conjunction to what's happening with the movement from adult school into the Mendocino pathway for nursing. We know we need more medical careers. So there's a lot going on. This is actually just what I could think of off the top of my head without looking at notes for what we're actually doing. So continuing the programs and teams, some of the things that I talked about last year. Our attendance team is knocking it out of the park. I know attendance is a little tricky this year in terms of our percentages, but what we are seeing success in is we've brought our deans into the attendance system. So they are meeting with families, so it doesn't feel as punitive for a parent to have to come in and meet with an administrator. They're meeting with the deans to say, what can we support you with? How can we help you? So we don't have to go to a level of meeting with an administrator and making it more punitive. And that's helping tremendously. I think we are 100% at meeting with families who receive the automatic A2A letters. It's a really high percent. It might not be quite 100. Our attendance team made phone calls before the school year started, identifying students who were struggling to attend last year, both at the middle schools and at Ukiah High School, and making phone calls to say, first day of school's coming up. We start at 8:30, here's your bus route, how can we help you? So the attendance team is meeting, that is continuing from last year, we're seeing some great success. We also have lunch reflections held by 2 teachers where they have the students log into Aries, write down how many tardies or unexcused absences or truancies they have, and then list out a plan for improvement. So that's work we're continuing on from last year. Our multi-tiered system of supports, or MTSS, we call it 4-pronged, where we look at students who are struggling behaviorally, academically, with attendance, or with their social emotional well-being. And then we have actually an identifier system for students who hit multiple of those prongs. And we have tier 2, tier 3 meetings where we sit with counselors and local service people who are offering local services, and how we can identify students who need higher levels of support on any or multiple of these prongs. And our PBIS system and the ICPC work folds into this MTSS work. So we have multiple teams for Tier 1, Tier 2, and Tier 3 who meet consistently to continue on this work. One of the cool things about not being from here is experiences I've had as an educator in Southern California, in Arizona, in Nevada, and Ohio, and then coming back to California, is we don't have to do this work or invent it ourselves. There are a lot of really great partnerships we've made and brought in from the outside, and these logos are just a few ideas of what we've done. Character Strong helps us with our MTSS. We have a Tier 2 program that helps us automatically identify students who are struggling with those different prongs. Cool Speak is a company that came in and spoke to our teachers about a myriad of different options, but really just how to love students and get them to love the classroom. We have a speaker coming in next Friday that Skylar talked about from Cool Speak. The Campus Culture Consulting were some folks we brought in to sit with leadership and talk about what does a year long of activities look like for a high school. The fact that we're so insulated could be very easy just to keep doing what we're doing, but now we're looking at what other schools are doing, and that's the middle logo on the left there is the castle, which is student leadership. We took 7 students to Santa Barbara over the summer for a week where they met with hundreds of other student leadership and brought back great ideas to our campus. And we're going to double that this year with the help of Superintendent Cuban. We're going to take 15 students this year to bring back ideas on how we can make our activities more robust and more welcoming for students. That leads us to our goals. I'm going as fast as I can. To our goals, these are established by our site-based team. And there are 4 overarching goals I'll do real quick. The first one is also our WASC goal, which is to raise our CCI and A through G CTE pathway completion. The second one is to reduce our DNF rates through consistent and equitable grading practices. We have many members on the grading task force, and this is a work in progress. Goal 3 is to increase our ELA and math scores by at least 3% this year by using first best instruction. And our 4th goal is to increase student and staff engagement through the MTSS tiered practices. These are overarching goals that drive all of our decision making with the site-based decision making team this year. What the staff is doing, we are looking at our bell schedule to answer a singular question of how to improve our tutorial time. Right now, we have data that show it's very underutilized, and we want to try to create a system that will help students actually receive, more students actually receive academic intervention as they need. The grading task force and grading we talked about. Project-based learning, we are re-envisioning what open house looks like, and we are having it being student-driven instead of parents showing up and going to a classroom. They're showing up and having the students show off and showcase their work through a series of showcases throughout campus. The professional learning communities, our PLCs, is our teacher work, and they're doing a really great job with the common formative assessments and using those assessments to then drive their instruction in the classroom. That's the first best instruction model. And then walkthroughs and instructional coaching. We have many tiers of that going on for teachers as well, whether it's peer-to-peer with a special group we have called the New Teacher Collaborative. So teachers 5 years and under, once a month, we buy them lunch, and there are 4 teacher mentors in the room who create an agenda each month to talk about what's going on. And it's really not about the pedagogy of teaching, but the logistics of being at Ukiah High School. This is what's going on this month. This is what's happening with our schedule. This is how you navigate, this, that, and the other. So we're trying to support teachers in a number of different ways. Got an amazing administrative team. I thought I'd show them off because, I get to stand here and talk about all the things we're doing and throw out all these big ideas. It's really these folks that help go do the work and then come back and say, this is where we're running into a problem, let's fix it. And they're doing a really great job. And two of the 3 APs are new to their positions this year. So I feel very lucky and blessed to be working with these folks. And I did that as fast as I could. It wasn't 3 slides and it wasn't 5 minutes. So.
Tyler.
I'm glad it wasn't 3 slides, 5 minutes, whichever direction it goes. It was nice to have the information, and kind of makes me want to go back to high school a little bit. Yeah.
You're welcome anytime. We can always use more people.
Won't work. Can you tell me just a little bit more about your multi-tiered system of support? What kinds of things do you offer during that or for that?
So our Tier 1 team exists includes a lot of our student-led, because Tier 1 is most students, if not all students. So this is where we're working on the campus belonging and our campus culture class that we've re-envisioned what this looks like. We have a teacher who is rewriting as we go along, our freshman advisory class to offer more supports for success in high school. That's one of the partners in there is Find Your Grind, which is a college and career connection, and we're getting data from them on the career students are connecting with mentors through this online program. The student leadership class, our clubs, the clubs day, the activities, a lot of that tier 1 supports. And then you also have the tier 1, which is first best instruction in the classroom. So it's all of that work. And so when our tier 1 team meets, it's a teacher, it's a dean, it's a student, and they talk about kind of the bulk of what everyone's experiencing and how we can improve that. When we get to tier 2 and tier 3, it's using the Character Strong program that talks to Aries, and it tells us what students are struggling with, behavior, attendance, combination of those, and then that tier 2 and 3, actually we split them up. There's a lot of work to do. So the tier 2 team now meets and just talks about students who are identified as tier 2 with the hopes of providing those interventions and naming those interventions and who's going to do those interventions so that we can move them back to tier 1. And then the tier 3 team meets with the same thing. And it could go like, students go either way. The tier 2 team can say, we've done the home visit, we're going to move the student to tier 3 for more intense interventions. So each of those teams has multi things under it. The attendance team is under tier 1 and also some of tier 2 because some students may struggle to come to school. Right, so it's a little bit of everything, but we use those 4 prongs to drive the data those teams look at and what we offer to help students. The tier 2 and 3 teams meet every other week. The tier 1 team about once a month because it is a broader group of people. And the tier 1 activities also run through our site-based decision-making team.
Are they different members on each tier?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes and no. Some may be the same.
Okay.
It depends on what we're seeing in terms of trends of where students need help.
Need help. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Of course.
Well, I want to thank you for your presentation. It was really informative. I really liked the ideas you have on attendance and what the school's been doing, especially meeting with the deans. And I love that they're being proactive in calling students and families before the school year started. Do you have any kind of information on how successful that was, starting out with a plan before the school year?
Yes and no, because for some of the students that are that higher level, even that early intervention by calling may not have led to success. The problem with knowing a direct answer to that is that every single student struggling with attendance has it's a case-by-case basis. They have a different set of circumstances that may actually shift and change. So we do know that we had more students at the start of the year than we did a year before, percentage-wise for attendance. And then we had some students that came for a little while and then stopped, and then vice versa. So it's really just trying to attack it from different angles for those students who are really struggling to come to work. But one thing the attendance team is doing that we're seeing some success is actually targeting the middle percentage that are not quite severe chronic with the intention to keep them out of becoming severe chronic. We have seen some success with the attendance team attacking that middle percentage, particularly with the lunch reflections. And then sharing that with the parent when they come to the dean, this is the goals that your student has listed out as, what they want to achieve or barriers of getting them to school on time. So it's a yes and no answer. Every single case is different.
I love that you're thinking outside the box and doing something before it's too late and sending letters. And
Right.
So I appreciate it.
Of course.
And all the incentives.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, the incentives, we just had students win for the month of January. We decided to change the incentives program a little bit, and we are picking 5 students at random one from each grade level and one from our improved attendance, and we're looking the previous month and the current month, so from December to January. Pick students by random, and they can choose a yearbook, prom tickets if they are a junior, senior, or an item from the sideline store, which is BSN, up to $100. And so far, 4 of the 5 students chose a yearbook, and 1 student chose a hoodie off the sideline store. So the students are talking about it. And we did the whole semester long. We had some electronics, we had some tablets and things like those in, and students were flocking to drop their their tickets into the buckets to try to win prizes. So they're talking about it, which means they're also talking about coming to school.
Awesome, thank you. And B? Oh. Thank you.
Okay, thank you all.
All right, moving to item C10, public comment for items not on the agenda. It looks like we have a stack of submissions. And Debbie, was there any more? Okay. And again, we allow 3 minutes for public comment. We'll have a nice clock, maybe. And then we just ask if you can make sure you put the microphone close so that we can hear you, and that there's the orange light on to show that it's on. And the first person we have, Jesse?
My name's Jessica Tanning, and I've been in Redwood Valley for most of my life, so well over 55 years here. This is not on the agenda, so I just wanted to thank you for your consideration for hopefully the upcoming rec center. It would be a wonderful addition. But why I'm here is to talk about the traffic from Eagle Peak and Cal Pella School in the morning, the gridlock that happens. Sometimes in the mornings to Cal Pella School, it's blocked up onto the off-ramp, clear up to the highway. Same thing with Redwood Valley. People coming from town or from wherever they are, but dropping the kids off. There's no roundabout there. It's become a hazard. It is it's a pain. And now people are using Road N in Laughlin. I live on Laughlin Way. They're using that to avoid having to go through the West Road mess and tearing up the roads, driving like idiots. The other day I was going down the road looking for my dogs, and a guy's flying down the road, and I just wanted to ask him, hey, if you've seen these dogs, and he got irate with me, and that I was holding him up, and he just dropped his it's just turned into a real hazard. And I don't know, I know Testas, they blocked off. People were using their side of their property to park, and some of these cars are idling for half an hour. People are waiting, to pick up their kids, drop them off. It's ridiculous, really. I don't know what a solution is. My brain has kind of been wrapped around this for a while. Maybe a drop-off point at the fairgrounds with one of the e-buses. Anyone that's not in the area using the bus. There's got to be some kind of solution to help avoid this congestion. The Cal Pella thing is deadly. One of these days, someone's going to plow into the back, coming off that highway that's not paying attention, and plow into some of that backed up traffic. It's also backed up clear to the stop sign in Cal Pella at times. People trying to get through, emergency vehicles. There's absolutely no way around it. So I don't, like I said, I don't know what the solution is, but the Road End thing is now becoming to the point where I'm ready to go to the Board of Supervisors. Department of Transportation, I can't get anywhere with them, but I wanted to come to you guys first because the out-of-area traffic, there should be no thorough traffic, through that section. You're driving right through people's front yards, literally. I don't even take Road N because I feel like driving through people's front yards. But it's created a hazard, and it's been like this for a number of years now, and it's getting worse. So that's cool. I'm done. That's it. So I don't know if I need to come back to the next meeting to have this heard. If you guys can, think of some solutions, something, because it's just not fair to the residents. It really isn't. And the amount of, the amount of pollution, that's just a whole other subject. But literally, some of these vehicles are idling for 20, 30 minutes, and people wanting to get there first and get in line. And if there was a drop-off point, something that could work for everybody, and be great. So thank you.
Thank you, Jesse. Priscilla?
Good evening, board representatives. Excuse me. I address you as representatives because that's what you were elected to prioritize in your role to represent your constituency of students and families. My name is Priscilla Stevenson, and I'm a parent of 2 elementary school students in Ukiah Unified. Wea and Guina are enrolled in your district, are students enrolled in your Title VI federally funded program for tribal students. My students enrolled in the district a couple weeks before the end of last school year. When they started this school year, they were both enrolled at Frank Zeke. After poor classroom management and lack of academic rigor in my son's 2nd grade classroom, I requested a transfer to Calpella. Although his new teacher is kind with better classroom management and higher academic rigor, his classroom is still not culturally responsive for tribal students. I've been inquiring about the source of teacher leadership development in our district, and I've been informed that the main source of coaching for teachers is from principals. This underscores the importance of selecting, developing, and retaining school leaders with the same vision as families, including and especially tribal families. On this note, I've requested more information about current parent engagement practices and policies in the hiring process of new school leaders from our assistant superintendent. Clearly, the hiring process for school leaders and administrative leadership should be inclusive of families as the key constituency impacted by decision-making in the hiring of these roles. Tonight, I respectfully ask you to review, share, and publicly reflect on district policies, practices, and transparency of district hiring policies of school leaders and administrative leadership roles in our district. Shortly, you'll be responsible for approving the hiring of the new school leader of Calpella as one of the schools with the largest population of tribal students in the district between Ukiah and Redwood Valley. It's important to ensure tribal families are consulted, engaged, and centered in the decision-making process to hire a new school leader aligned with our vision of education. Families need the opportunity to ask candidates questions that provide insight into educational leaders' pedagogy and impact that will inevitably impact our students both inside the classroom and the larger learning community. Some of these questions might include the following. What is your experience working with tribal students and families? Have you built partnerships with tribal families and communities in your career trajectory? And how do you approach relationships with sovereign tribal nations in your leadership? Lastly, and more importantly, what is your commitment to tribal students and families in your role as a school leader primarily responsible for teacher leadership development? Together, we have an opportunity to improve the policies and practices of family engagement for district hiring and ensure decision-making in these processes is equitable and inevitably transformational for student learning because the district is currently ill-equipped to educate my tribal children with current school leadership across the district. Thank you for your time and consideration of my request grounded in a vision of educational excellence for tribal students as citizens of sovereign nations. Thank you.
Thank you, Priscilla. And next we have Dolly.
I want to say, first of all, my name is Dolly Riley, and I want to thank you all for your interest in the advancement and education of children. To me, that's really special, having been a teacher. I'm here today just to give a little bit of flavor as to the relevant public sentiment. And, you know, I'm going to start out and tell you that the Redwood Valley Municipal Advisory Council was formed 7 years ago, and we were tasked with adding to the county general plan. And, yeah, I just hate this thing. Oh, so over the last 7 years, we've had the whole Redwood Valley community invited to 4 large meetings, and now we have a subcommittee, which is consisting of somebody on the Ukiah City Council, a lady that used to be a director at West Company, it's far-flung, and myself and the vice chair of the Redwood Valley MAC. As we rewrite this, I want to let you know that a year ago, I'm leading up to advocacy for the Redwood Valley Rec Center as we look for a request for proposal when you're ready to submit that to the public. A year ago, February 6, 2024, the Board of Supervisors approved part of our action plan, and I'll quote the part that they approved that has to do with youth in Redwood Valley. And I'm going to say, I know that you're not governed by the Board of Supervisors, and I really respect that. But this gives you, this is relevant to public sentiment, okay? So they approved an action item under public facilities infrastructure for Redwood Valley that said, quote, encourage development of community facilities such as youth facilities and parks, increase safe uses for Lions Park, and promote positive community uses for the closed Redwood Valley School, support the creation of community facilities for youth, monitor the use of the Redwood Valley School with Ukiah Unified School District. So that is part of, what was accepted by the supervisors. And there are excerpts from the current in-place county general plan that reflect on this. And I'm not going to go into that. I think I've said enough. And I just want to thank you, and, we hope to be able to see a request for proposal. Thank you all.
Thank you, Dolly. And next we have Justin, followed by Cynthia.
So, my name is Justin. I guess I'm on here on behalf of the Redwood Valley Rec Center. I was actually one of the last classes through Redwood Valley Elementary. I was the last 5th grade class through there. And it's kind of a shame, in my opinion, that it closed down. I understand kind of why it happened, but it's my understanding that the board here is really, their job, or I guess their goal is to foster student growth and community growth. And I can't see any better option than, starting a community rec center for the youth. There's really nothing in Redwood Valley besides the Lions Park, but the Lions Park has its own issues for the youth in Redwood Valley. There's a lot of resources for youth in Ukiah, but Redwood Valley and Capella, the surrounding areas, really don't have much at all, if anything, for the students. And like I said, I can't think of any better purpose for the abandoned school. Like I said, it's been almost 15 years. So I think it could give a new lend on life to the school, and honestly for the children of, Redwood Valley, Eagle Peak, or the Eagle Peak area, I guess, where they're surrounding schools. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Justin. It's Cynthia.
Good evening, Ukiah Unified School Board District members. I'm Cynthia Hune, a longtime resident of Redwood Valley. Myself and many others are here tonight for clarification regarding the waiver that's been granted for the Redwood Valley Elementary School property. I have a couple questions. Unfortunately, I had a family emergency and I couldn't attend the last meeting where some of these questions were presented. But a couple of questions weren't in this, and I'm hoping that maybe you can shed some light on this. One, when can we anticipate the dissemination of the RFQP, and how will we be notified? And two, what is your timeline back to the state, and are there any benchmark and criteria dates that the district has to comply with for the state? So I'm hoping that those can be addressed at some point and we can have those answers. I don't think it shows any favoritism towards any group or the other, just answering those two questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Cynthia. And is it Naya?
My name is Naya, and I'm 13. I always wish that there would be another place for me and my friends to play sports together, since the gyms are always already in use for other sports whenever we go to try and play volleyball or anything else. Additionally, I have a friend who lives in Redwood Valley. She's always complaining that she's frustrated she has to drive so far. She's always complaining that she's frustrated she has to drive so far just to spend a little time at the gym. She's always saying that after a 50-minute drive there and back, combined with the homework she has to do, she hardly ever has the time to go, and when she finally gets the chance to, she can never stay long enough for it to be worth going at all. All in all, when we heard that it might be building another gym we could go to, we were excited and already looking forward to all the fun we would have. We really hope they're able to build it, and I, for one, am excited to play sports out of season and finally get to go to the gym with my friends. Thank you.
Thank you. Item D1, approval of supplemental concentration grant funded positions. And
This is me.
it's you?
Yes, sorry, Katie is not here tonight, so I am presenting this one for her. You looked at this at the last meeting. We gave you a draft of this at the last meeting, and we are recommending the following. One is to remove a 1.0 reading teacher at Grace Hudson Elementary. This was supposed to be done last year. All of our elementary schools get one reading teacher allocated through supplemental concentration grant funding except Calpella, because Calpella has a very large concentration of primary grade students. And so we would be reducing that. And so they'd still have one reading teacher remaining. And then in this that you saw last time, the changes are, we're asking for approval on these this time. A 0.5 district family liaison to support migrant ed and English learner students and families. The other 0.5 is funded through Title III. We want to put this in supplemental concentration grant funding to counter any reductions to migrant education funding potentially. So we're asking the board place that there. And then we currently have a full-time college and career specialist at Ukiah High School. That was funded through a grant, 100% funded through a grant. The grant funding is reducing. We want to continue to maintain that position. So we're asking that 0.5 of that position get paid through supplemental and concentration grant funding so we can maintain that. And then the last piece is, this is not in addition, we currently have a 0.875, I think it's 6-hour bilingual paraprofessional position in the district to support migrant and English learner students at Ukiah High School. And so we're proposing to fund that out of supplemental concentration grant funding. The migrant education program is funded through Butte County Office of Education. Butte County Office of Education used to administer all of the programs, and several years ago, pre-pandemic, the district took on the administration of the migrant ed program. And at that time, about half of a position was funded, and that funding has gone down every single year, and now we're funded at about 20%. So we're proposing to Butte County to give back the administration of that program, not the details of the program, and they have shared with us that we might lose some of our services. And so we are wanting to maintain those services, those direct services to students, so we're proposing that we put them into our state-funded supplemental concentration grant funding. So no services will be lost to our migrant ed kids. So it's moving the funding into state supplemental concentration grant funding. So those are the changes that we are proposing to for next year. B.
Deb, was Butte County amenable to that?
I think they'd prefer that we continue to be the administrators,
Right.
but again, the amount of administrative work that is required for very little support administratively, we think it would be more efficient for Butte County to administer the program. Again, we have every intention of maintaining the direct services to students that we currently have, and because we're not sure what they may or may not what services they may or may not reduce, we want to continue to maintain those services, so we're putting it into the plan so we do not jeopardize our direct services to kids.
They won't pull it from us?
No.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah.
You have questions from the board? All right, we are looking for, do I have a motion for D1?
I move to approve D1.
Second?
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? And abstentions? All right, thank you. Moving on to item D2.
Thank you. This item D2 is a resolution. The Ed Code has set after 2025 new parameters for people to be qualified to teach transitional kindergarten. Those teachers must now have at least 24 units in either early childhood education or child development, or a combination of both, or what the district as a local educational agency deems as equivalent to those 24 units, or they have to have their child development teacher permit issued by the Commission on Teacher Credentialing. So this resolution is the board taking action to establish that local control decision on what is equivalent to 24 units of early childhood education or child development. We, in this resolution, recognize that 24 units of education generally equates to a year of college coursework, and therefore are resolving that 1 year of teaching experience in a transitional or pre-kindergarten classroom, or 1 year of teaching experience in kindergarten classroom, or 1 year teaching experience as a lead teacher in a preschool, or a combination of those, equals 1 year or 24 units of credit towards qualification for the TK authorization. So this resolution establishes that as our criteria, and then that's the criteria that we're able to use to qualify teachers for teaching pre-K, TK in our school district.
I have a
Questions?
question.
And so this allows us to say, instead of the 24 units, we're going to use this as an equivalent program.
Correct.
Okay, and that's okay with the state? I mean, each
Yeah, the
district
state
can do that.
gives us complete control over that. We looked around at a number of different schools to see what other districts were doing. Some people are going with the standard 15 hours equals a credit, so 360 hours of work in a TK or a kindergarten or preschool would equal their 24 units. We saw one school district that was doing 2 years for some reason. We're not sure why. But then a number of places that are using this same calculation of 1 year equals 24 credits. We've checked with the Commission on Teacher Credentialing and with Sam Travis, our county expert on credentials. We get the same answer from all of them. It's a local decision.
Good.
The only caveat is it has to be a board resolution. We have to have some way, if we get audited, of how did we determine this. So we also have things that were developed after this. There'll be a checklist that have to be filled out by people that we qualify under this resolution, and we have that on file for audit.
Okay, thank you, Scott.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering, if we decide that's it.
Correct. If you pass this resolution, this can be the standard we will now use. The other thing that is in this resolution is if you were teaching transitional kindergarten prior to 2015, you're just grandfathered in, which also makes sense because if you've been doing it that long, you've got your qualification under this resolution. So,
Good. It's good.
And John?
Yeah, I'm just curious, it mentions 1 year of experience as a lead teacher in a preschool classroom, but then for the TK or kindergarten classroom, it doesn't say lead, so are all of them, they have to be the lead, or is there a difference? Where
so
some say-
there's not a lead teacher at the kindergarten or TK level, it's just a teacher. But in the preschool, you can have lead teachers or teachers that are working under a lead teacher. So you wouldn't have the full responsibility in the other.
Okay, thanks.
All right. Thank you. And we're looking for a motion for item D2, the resolution number 15.
I so move.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? All right, thank you. And moving to item E1.
Okay, good evening. This is supposed to be your month where you don't have to hear from me, so I apologize and thank you in advance. Over the last several years, we have gotten a lot of one-time pots of money from both the federal government and from the state. All of the federal government money has now been spent, which is probably a good thing. Those deadlines were through September 30th of 24 was the last deadline we had on some of those pots of money. So we do still have 2 pots of money we received from the state at the beginning of 2023-24, and we have spent some of those funds. We have talked to you about these funds 3 or 4 times probably over the last couple of years with different plans, and we've done stuff piecemeal, which has been prudent because with these 2 grants, we have time to spend them, and we knew the ground was going to be changing underneath us, so we didn't want to commit it all at once. But now we're coming back to you with some more revisions to these budgets. I'm going to tell you first off with the first plan we're going to talk about, the arts and music and instructional materials block grant money. This plan is not completely developed tonight. I wish I could come to you with every single piece laid out, but we're not quite there yet, but there is some urgency around school bus purchases. So that's why we're talking about this tonight rather than waiting a month or 2. So with that, I will start with this first one. We'll see if does the remote work tonight, or do I have to? Okay. Oh, it even vibrates. Okay. Arts and music and instructional materials. I'm going to tell you right now that the state does a lot of really fascinating and interesting things. This one may be our top 2 or 3 favorites because the rules for spending this money have almost nothing to do with arts, music, and instructional materials. You can basically spend this money on anything you want. And really the first guidance we got from school services and other places was really to, if you didn't have facilities money, use this on HVAC systems to improve your indoor air quality coming out of the pandemic. So we jokingly call this the HVAC money, even though it's the arts, music, and instructional materials money. This was a $3.6 billion statewide one-time grant. For us, it's a little over $3.3 million. We have until the end of next year, 25-26, to spend it. Some of the allowable uses, standards aligned professional development, again, which is not mentioned in the title, instructional materials, again, more PD and instructional materials for school climate, restorative, digital literacy, PE, all sorts of really good important things, but again, the title is really misleading. And the one that you see underlined there, paying for operational costs, including but not limited to retirement and healthcare cost increases. Because of course, that's how you would spend arts, music, and instructional materials money. So, okay, I'll stop whining about that. So on May 16th, we gave you probably the 2nd or 3rd version of our plan, and you approved a plan that had us spending a little bit of money in 23-24 on some of our PROACT training, and along with that, the indirect costs. This is one of the programs that lets us take our full indirect costs. Our rate this year is 6.85%. It was a little bit lower last year. Most programs let us take our full indirect. Some programs don't let us take any at all, and some are capped at like 2% or 5% or different things. So we always want to try to maximize this, and we always do take our indirect when we can.
Can you, I don't know what that means, full indirect and all that stuff.
So indirect is the way every program we get from the state or from the feds always has a ton of strings and a ton of reporting requirements and things. So they allow us to take some money, what they call indirect costs, basically for the management and administration of these programs. So, and each year, each school district has its own rate that's determined each year by their expenditures in the prior year. And so ours typically is high 4s to mid 6s is what our indirect cost rate is. So it's a way for us to recoup some money out of these programs to cover all the time we get to spend writing reports and having other fun processes with these things.
But we don't usually see them on here, the indirect costs.
No, but because we're trying to really give you a really clear insight into these, we do. If we do other specific programs, we typically show you, but it all rolls up in the SACS forms you get each time we do a full budget to you. It's all rolled up together. And in the unaudited actuals, there's actually a page, which I'm sure you've all read, that gives you how much we've collected from every single program for our indirects. It's very tiny print, very far back in the back of our budget. It's just kind of a standard operating thing. So,
I have a quick question too.
Sure.
So is that just in the indirect is like administrative costs and not facilities? Because like in the university, it's a lot higher where it's like 27, 60%, whatever.
Right.
But that's facilities. This is just like staffing costs and support for like office printers and all that stuff.
Exactly, yeah, just really to cover the cost of the fiscal team doing what they need to do, ed services developing the plans, those sorts of things. Yeah, it's much more restrictive. Yep. And then we also laid out spending money in 24-25 again for PROACT training And the PERS cost took a significant increase from 23-24 to 24-25, so we talked about using this money to pay that difference for 24-25, and the board approved that. And so that at the end of 24-25, we still had about 2.9 million left unbudgeted. That was the plan that you guys approved on May 8th, I want to say it was, May 8th or May 16th is right there in front of me.
Wait, we did approve for the PERS?
Yes, but only for the 1 year. We had asked to go and do it the following year too. You guys want us, let's just do 1 year for now. Yeah. You wanted to hear this presentation again, I know.
I don't like spending it on PERS.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, so when all was said and done for 23-24, the PROACT training and therefore the indirect costs came in a little bit higher. But then you see we still have almost 2.9 million to spend based on that initial budget for 24-25. Okay, so now I'm going to take a little bit of a bird walk for a second. We have secured a grant to purchase up to 4 electric buses, and these new buses have a little bit longer range than the ones we currently have. We were thinking this may not be the last electric bus grant, but now given the seismic shifts in Washington, this may be the last grant we can get for a while. So each bus, the way we need them spec'd, costs about $470,000. We can get up to 4 through the grant. Again, this may be the last time we can get some buses. These will not get us to Santa Rosa and back still, even with the bigger battery range, but they'll get us through a day of our normal routes in town and stuff. So not perfect technology yet, but better. So on top of that, one of the things we've struggled with is getting our field trips and our teams to different places, especially during the hot parts of the year. I remember being in Chico for the football game in late September, and the kids looked pretty worn out getting off of our school bus with no air conditioning before they even put their pads on. It was a hot day, a long way to go in an unair conditioned bus. We try not to use charter buses because they are a lot more expensive and they are not held to the same safety standards for maintaining the equipment, and their drivers aren't as good as our drivers. We always want to use our vehicles. So we're proposing to buy 2 diesel buses, and this may be the last time we can buy diesel buses too, right? Because California's been phasing out diesel, and now the feds are saying we're bringing back diesel. Anyway, we would like to get 2 diesel buses that are air conditioned that we could use for our out-of-town trips, for our field trips during the summer when we take kids on college tours, when we take our sports teams places and things like that. We could also use these during the school year. Obviously, we wouldn't just park them except for field trips, but it would be nice to have this flexibility. We do not have this in our fleet currently. So this is the really time-sensitive piece tonight. It's a first-come, first-serve. These buses are going fast. If we waited next month to do this, we probably wouldn't be able to get buses. So that's why we're talking to you about this piece tonight. The electric buses aren't quite as time sensitive, although I do still think we want to make sure we get our foot in the door as quickly as we can. One other note about electric buses, we were buying them from a company called E-Lion out of Canada. They filed for bankruptcy about 3 months ago, and so now we're sourcing buses from a new place. So it's never a dull moment in our worlds, right? So did you have a question before I go on?
Oh, sorry. Why just 2 diesel buses? Is that going to be enough to cover athletics and?
We thought about 3. Again, it's going to be hard to even get the 2. We thought 2 would cover most of our trips. And again, they're not cheap either. They're $330,000 a piece. And without wanting to use general fund monies for this, we thought 2 was something we could live with. 3 would be great if you want to say go get 3 instead. I wouldn't say no, but I think we were happy with 2. Well, the electrics are only going to cost us $70 each, so because our piece of the 470 is just the 70. So, yep. A good question though. Yeah, well, we did go back and forth on that. We didn't want to be too greedy. So, also some other proposed revisions for this year and for next year. Proposition 28 passed 2 years ago. That's called Arts and Music in Schools, and that title actually really does make sense because we can only spend it on arts and music stuff. Most of it has to go to staff, and it's all allocated by site, not at the district level. So Nokomis added a great new music program this year. It has been, I think, environmental changing for that campus. You heard some of that from Josh tonight. But there's not quite enough money in their Prop 28 to fund it this year and next year. So we wanted to use some of this money to really give that program 2 full years of a full-time teacher to really get it off the ground. And then maybe we figure out after that either how we fund it, or do we maybe start to now move it to a couple schools, or start pulling people in 2 or 3 directions, which we never like to do. We also want to provide sound systems for all the elementary and middle school sites that need them. And then we've really got 2 other things hanging out there. We have just received a list from the Visual and Performing Arts program at the high school and middle schools. They have a wish list of things they would like too. Their wish list is pretty interesting, and it's taking us time to cost it out. That's why we don't have it tonight. Some of the stuff we can do through our maintenance department. They want the floors refinished and things like that. Well, they could have put a work order in and would have already been done, right? So hopefully we can knock a couple of those things out this summer. And we have other ways to fund this too, which I'll talk more about in a second. The other challenge for us is we know our legal costs and our insurance costs are going up. Earlier this year, you put some money aside for legal and insurance reserves. This is really our last chance to take some one-time money and put it towards that. So I really want to encourage the board to think about putting at least a piece of this money to that as we go forward. But again, I need to have all those visual and performing arts costs before I can say how much I think we should put towards that. And then we adjust the indirect costs. So the proposed revised budget now for 24-25, and that assumes that we don't spend any of the bus money and other money until next year. We may actually be able to do some of it this year. It's just going to be a timing thing of when we can actually get the buses on site and things like that. But you see, we would spend a little bit more this year, and then we would fully expend the rest of the money next year, which is the deadline, June 30th of 26. But we do have that amount in yellow, the $1.533 million. That's what we'd like to come back and talk to you about next month once we have that visual and performing arts list ready, and say, here are the things we recommend doing off this list. That leaves X dollars to put towards our legal and insurance. So the visual and performing arts list, I know, again, we're doing amazing programs for our kids. We want to support those. But we have other ways to fund this, though, too. This arts and music in schools that I talked about, Prop 28, you can use up to 15% for non-staff costs. And you can also get a waiver from the state each year if we couldn't hire staff. Remember that first year we couldn't hire any staff. You can get waivers to spend that money on stuff as long as it still meets the program requirements. So we can probably pay for a lot of the sound systems and some of the other stuff they want with that money rather than having to use this money. So we have some flexibility. We can also use SCG money that's unspent possibly at the end of the year to fund some of the VAPA stuff as well. Whereas the legal and insurance reserves and the buses, I don't have any other funding sources for those. So that's kind of the push tonight. So I think that's my last slide on this. Oh yeah. So again, tonight, it's not a fully baked plan, but we would like direction to move forward on the buses. And again, I think really the diesel buses are the really big push. But if you want to go ahead and give us direction on the electric buses as well, we'll be happy to take that. And then again, we'll come back to you in the next month or two with the visual and performing arts plan and recommendations for the rest of this money.
But I'll just add, we would love for you to approve the proposed revision budget slide, the sheet that shows that what we'd be spending.
There we go.
The Nokomis music teacher, we
Right.
would like approval on that. So the colorful slide with all the budget numbers on it that show $300,000 for 4 electric buses, $660 for the 2 diesel, $25,000 this year and $61,000 next year to fully fund the Nokomis music position, setting aside $1.5 million for VAPA and legal requests. That will come back to you later, the detail of that. And then, of course, that would create an indirect cost, that the indirect cost would be. So we're hoping that you will approve this plan tonight, knowing that we're going to come back regarding the VAPA. But that $1.5 million would be what would be allocated to VAPA and legal/insurance future needs.
Okay. Thank you for that clarification.
So everything in blue and the yellow line? Not the yellow line.
Well, we're asking that you approve the yellow line, but we're going to come back to you with the specific.
With specific numbers. Oh, okay.
With the division of how much we think we need. We're going to bring the list to you that the teachers put together of the needs that they have, but we're also going to go through other budgets that we might have to see where we might be able to fund some things. And then we'll come back to you with a more concrete division of that money.
Okay, so that's just kind of a general figure?
Right, so
Okay,
the
I
blue
get
is really the specific stuff we'd like to approve tonight. The yellow is next month or April.
You could say that. You could take from the yellow and tell us to buy a third diesel bus.
But they're much more expensive, huh?
Well, it would be
they're
another-
cheaper than the electric buses, but they're more out of pocket for us.
It would be another 330. So you take 330 from the yellow.
Do we need 4 electric buses?
Transportation believes so, yeah.
They do?
A lot of the electric buses that we have we've had for a while at this point. Plus, again, because these have the longer range, that's attractive to us. And because this may be the last chance we get to buy any buses for a while, yeah, we're trying to definitely build up our fleet a little bit. But if you want to say do 3 and 3 instead or something and save the 70 here and to put it towards the 330, I think we'd probably live with that too.
I like that.
I mean, I think 70,000 for electric bus is a pretty good deal. It seems like if we can buy 4 for 70,000 each, it seems like we should do it. I think personally, starting with 2 diesel buses that have air conditioning is great. If you think about high school sports, there's not usually that many games, away games happening probably at the same time, same days with the sports.
Yeah.
I would feel comfortable with personally with starting with 2 diesel buses, especially since, who knows, next 4 years, there might be a lot of diesel buses available. And I'm not as certain about the 1.5 saying right now that we're going to set that aside for VAPA requests and legal insurance reserves. Is there a reason why we're assigning that right now without the detail, or could we just sort of leave that as unallocated?
As
and then-
TBD, of course, yeah.
Yeah.
I just think kind of foreshadowing what we're thinking for this money, what we're going to come back and talk to you about. But yeah, we could definitely, because things may change the next
Right.
month or two.
I would rather approve the blue, I guess the orange, and, right, the blue and the orange.
Blue and the orange, sure.
And, right, isn't that orange an increase?
Yes,
in-
so those are increases, you're right.
And leave the yellow just undesignated to see what happens in our future. I mean, you could always come back for VAPA, but since we're not right now allocating it for specific projects, it seems like we should give ourselves flexibility.
No, I'm fine with that as well. It's
Yeah,
whatever
just
pleases the board.
Just to clarify, the orange would change depending on what the expenditures are. So just know that number will, depending on when the money gets spent and when that little orange number will change.
It's a moving target, yeah, for sure.
Can we stick that yellow in a little safe deposit box somewhere and just say, this is going to be allocated, hold on to it?
Well, for now, we would call it unallocated.
Unallocated,
And
okay.
if by June 30th of '26, we have to do something with
We
it,
have to
whether
do
that's moving a bunch of ongoing general fund costs to it and then
it.
putting that into a reserve, we have to do something. And there's,
I get
we
it.
have some creative ways of doing things. We try not to use ever one-time money for ongoing costs, but we've
Right.
had to kind of bridge some gaps and build up some reserves.
Tyler and then John?
This feels a little sudden to me, and so I'm curious, what is the state of our existing buses? I know the electric buses we've had a little bit, they're still running, still relatively new. Our diesel buses, what does the fleet look like as a whole?
I'll just say this came up. I was with Steve at the Chico game, and our players came in it was 101 at 5 p.m. at night, and they drove from Ukiah to Chico. The only buses that have air conditioning are our electric buses, and they don't make it all the way to Chico. So that's when we internally started talking about this, that we really need some diesel buses that are air conditioned. If we had electric buses that could go that range, we could buy them, but we really need diesel buses that have air conditioning. Otherwise, we're going to need to we talked about using charter buses. And I'd prefer our drivers be driving our kids than
Totally
charters,
agree.
but-
It'd be a hard sell for the charter buses, because we've talked about that, but
Right.
that's an argument for after we're done with this one.
And one other note on the electric buses, really quick, sorry. When you run the air conditioning when it's 101, those buses basically stop running, right, Stephen? They don't get they get very unhappy very quickly.
Yeah.
So they weren't made for that. They were made in Canada, I think, so.
So what is the state of the diesel fleet that we have?
Aging, we have not bought a diesel bus since I've been here at least, so we have not bought diesel probably in 8 to 10 years or longer. A lot of miles on a lot of them. And back to the electric buses too, why it's important to maybe refresh that fleet a little bit is with Elion going out of business, parts for them may be a question at some point also, right? It's definitely an unhappy, unexpected surprise for us with Eline going out of business. So again, it's just really, we have not bought diesel in forever. We try to use the electric as much as we can on the daily because it's cheaper to operate. But yeah.
Okay. Yeah, the AC, I kind of, whatever. Just a comment, I'm not sure where the budget number came for the sound system. Having been part of a PTA or PTO, I can't remember, that funded one for Nokomis, that seems like a humongous number. But that's just a kind of a side comment. I don't know what the actual fact is.
Yeah, or actually 8. We were thinking 10 to 15,000 for 8 schools. That's and probably rounded up a skosh just to be safe.
I guess that adds
'cause
up, huh?
If they're coming with tariffs, they may be a little more expensive. So.
True. It's been a while since I was working with the elementary schools directly. And then I'm with Zoe. When does this money expire?
June 30 of 26. So a
I'm
year
with
and
her. I'm
4
like,
months.
Let's not earmark it for anything. I would prefer to, as with the last time, have an open pot of money that, you know, if the world goes to heck next year, you know, we have a reserve for wherever we use it, would like to use it. I don't think it's necessary to lock it up tonight.
Okay.
And that's specifically for the yellow. The blue,
I can't promise I won't come back with a VAPA plan in a month or two to talk to you about, but that is an option, definitely.
okay.
A question about the electric buses. So Eline is going out of business. Are there parts that can still be purchased from them to maintain our fleet for longer? And would it be a good use of that 1.5 million? Have you guys looked at that of like replacement batteries or other parts that are known to wear out quickly and get them now?
Yeah, I know we have a pretty good inventory of that as best we can, and those should be available for a while. It's just a question of how long a while lasts, right? But yeah, I'll make sure we're stocking up, but I have no doubt, knowing the people involved there, yes, we're stocked up.
Right,
But I will triple check.
Great. And then, yeah, I mean, I would favor leaving the 1.5 a little bit more flexible just with the tumultuous times of what's happening at the federal level. You know, and we'll wait to see what happens with diesel buses, but the rest of the expenditures I'm good with. And then if you come back with a list of like preliminary VAPA requests, be interesting to see how much those stack up to. Maybe not as a budget proposal, but as like, here's the idea.
Sure.
Thanks.
Okay, great, thank you. We can definitely do that.
Yeah, I agree. I just want to, my opinion would be, I love the idea of buying 2 diesel buses and having something sturdy, reliable, and long-lasting in our fleet. And I agree with what you all are saying about leaving that money out. So I know might be getting close to emotion, so
okay.
I agree with that.
So if you're looking for a motion, I would move to approve all the items in blue and the orange as dependent on the expenditures, and leave the 1.5 in yellow not allocated to any particular expenditures, and come back at a later point when you know what you want to spend it on.
Okay.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And abstentions? Right.
Great, thank you for the direction and the approval. We appreciate that.
Item
You're not done with
E2?
me yet, though. Sorry. Yeah, one more. This one should be a little more straightforward. So this is the other big pot of money, the Learning Recovery Emergency Block Grant. This one was more restrictive than the arts, music, and instructional materials we just talked about. It's a little harder to spend this. We've had to be a little more creative on some of our expenditure recommendations. This was $7.9 billion statewide. Our piece was a little over $8.5 million. And we have till June 30th of 28 to spend this. But again, it is much more restrictive in how we can spend it. Supporting instructional learning time by increasing the number of instructional days or minutes. Well, of course, those things would have to be negotiated. Providing summer school or intersessional instructional programs. We also have our ACES program and the Expanded Learning Opportunities program to provide those services. Any other action that increases or stabilizes the amount of instructional time or services provided to pupils. Accelerating progress to close learning gaps, which is why you'll see we've done a lot of tutorial work with this money. What else do we have? Integrating pupil supports, and again, we have lots of other funds to help us do that. Increasing access to instruction for credit deficient. We run summer programs, again, for those folks as well. Additional academic services. Again, I don't know of anything we haven't done because of money. I have not heard us say no to anything that we needed or wanted to do. And that's been fun, because that wasn't always the way it is in schools. So back on May 16th, we approved this plan. It did have the money fully spent. There were a lot of estimates on what things were going to cost. For 23-24, we were going to spend almost 1.1 million of the money. We were going to spend about 3 in 24-25, 2.5 in 25-26, and a little over 2 in 26-27. And we'd have it all spent before the last year. One of the other challenges with this money is this has changed a couple times. We got the money, they took some back. Then all of a sudden they said, if you haven't spent it by this date, you have to start putting it in your LCAP and start explaining how you're spending it, showing the results from the money. A lot of schools got this money spent, so they didn't have to do that. We didn't choose to do that, and we would have been really, really creative to have gotten all this money spent. We weren't comfortable doing that. So, but we did create more work for Katie, for Christy, and for you by having this money still on our books. But okay, so that was the initial budget you approved. 23-24 came in a little higher. All told about almost 1.2. Let me go back real quick. We had thought 1,085,000. So we came in about $80,000, $90,000 higher. The tutorial sections at the high school, when we looked at the teachers that were actually providing the tutorials, cost a little more than we'd budgeted. A couple of other things cost a little bit more. So we revised our 24-25 numbers now. Oh no, I'm sorry, we had not changed 24-25 yet. This was still the budget that had been approved. Okay, now jumping forward, our proposed revisions are to adjust the estimated costs for already approved items for 24-25, 25-26, and 26-27. In this year, we're funding a school psychologist. We're now recommending to fund that for 2 more years. That psychologist has proved to be incredibly valuable to our students and delivered a lot of services that we would not necessarily be able to provide otherwise. And we are already using this money to pay for our Attention to Attendance program through School Innovations and Achievement. This year, we scaled that program back. We spent more money with them last year. We brought some of it in-house. We want to kind of now put those costs we're paying in-house into this money as well. So now you see, again, hopefully the color coding makes sense, the items that have either increased in orange, decreased in green, or the new items. We don't have a lot of new items here. Just again, that school psychologist in 25-26 and 26-27. And our district attendance campaign, 20,000 in each this year and the next 2 years. Yeah, so this one's pretty straightforward. Again, it's already all committed. In the governor's January budget proposal, he proposed giving back some of the money they had taken back at the beginning. They took about 8% away. He's talking about giving almost half of that back to us. So if that actually survives the entire budget process through May and June, we might get another $400,000 to add towards this pot of money that we could then maybe use in 27-28. We might. Yep. Yep. So hopefully Ma will be fully self-funded by then. We're making very good progress. So that is the proposal. Again, we'd like you to approve this as presented. It really doesn't deviate much from what you'd already approved. It's just some newer figures and a couple new minor items. So.
Okay, if we can start with Zoe Tyler and then Carolyn.
Can you just tell me that MA contribution, how when it's going to decrease by whatever that was going to be, what does that mean exactly? Like what is?
We have been working really hard to increase our billing of what we can get back for them. It's Medi-Cal allowable activities is what MA stands for, right? So there's Medi-Cal reimbursements and there's MA reimbursements. Well, MA for years has not covered what we spend on our students, so we've had to make a contribution from the general fund. Well, we've worked really hard to increase our billable activities, to actually bill for the work we were already doing, to be honest, and we're getting a lot more money back. In fact, we just got our allocation for this year. It was $175,000 more than we'd budgeted for the year. So we're doing very well on these programs, and so that's why the contribution's going down.
So nothing will change at the program level, you're just anticipating that we'll be better at the billing, so we'll recoup
Correct.
more of the cost,
Yep.
more of the.
Yeah, great question. Thanks for letting me expand on that, because it is exciting. We're doing some amazing work, getting what's owed to us while we still can. So, because, yeah. Medicaid's also on the chopping block, I'm hearing, so yeah.
Is there, I guess this is more, I'm not sure which one this goes to. Is there a way we can get a amount of dollars spent per student on the tutoring that goes on at all grade levels? I mean, is it $100 per hour? I'm not sure what the metric would be, $100 per hour or do we have 6 students going in for one teacher that's staying after school for 2 hours? Or do we have 30 kids? It would just be interesting to know if the dollar, I mean, we're spending $600,000 in 2024, $800,000 in 2025, $800,000 in the following year. I appreciate we need to support the students. Are we getting our value out of this money?
Are you wondering how many students are being served with after-school tutoring?
Yes.
That's essentially what you're wondering.
And that's probably an ed services question. I can't answer that off the top of my head. And Deb, I don't know if you can.
I will ask them if that information is handy. If it's not handy, I'll ask how much time it's going to take them to gather all the information.
I would, and I know
And
that
we
I had a challenging one a couple of years ago when I asked for some information. It was hard. I think it would be valuable. I'd like to know an estimate. It's not worth a gazillion hours, but I think it would be super valuable to know. I think it'd be valuable to know. Even if at the worst case scenario, it's like, yes, 15 kids were in each classroom after school. I don't, it's like,
right.
I don't know what to ask.
I don't
how
know
bad is it or how good is it?
I just don't know how we track it, Tyler, so I can't give you any sort of estimate at all right now.
Yeah.
I mean, the requests that we worked on with math, it was like 10,500 pieces of data.
Yeah.
So some of it is easy to get, some is not, and I'm not sure without Katie here, like, how we're tracking it.
All right.
But we'll see what's available for sure.
Yes, I'll put that I'll put the answer in the TGIF, and if we can easily get it, we'll just get it.
Okay.
Does that make
Thank you.
sense?
It totally, I don't know what, yes, it totally makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's a great question. It is.
My question was with the supposed money that we might get back from the governor, fingers crossed, there's a time limit on that as well?
It would be the 27-28. It would just be
27-28.
an additional contribution to this
To the total?
to this program, yes.
Okay, thank you.
And again, that was put into his budget before the LA fires, so I'm not spending that money just yet. Yeah. Yeah.
So these funds don't have to be spent until the 27-28 year. We're just expending them all early.
Correct. We're keeping programs we've already got in place going with the money, basically, as long as we can, is maybe a better way to put it. If there was enough money to keep it going through 27-28, we would do that too, or recommend that. And again, hopefully, if we don't spend everything we've got shown here, we'll have some money to spend in 27-28.
Right, and if we get that extra
Right.
reimbursement. Is that going to create any problems to all of a sudden have like a fiscal cliff in 27-28? Because like right now, it's like you're keeping these programs going full bore or, at the level that they are, and then they'll just end unless we get that other money or find others. So I guess my question is like, is there another path that you guys have discussed of kind of tapering a little bit in 26, 27 so that then you have some for 27, 28, or how has that discussion been happening to spend it all by 27?
I think we've really focused on the next 3 years because it goes along with our 3-year strategic plan. By the time we get to 27, 28, that'll be the first year of our next 3-year plan, right? Yeah, so that we may have to move some, we'll have to evaluate all these programs. Are they doing what we wanted to do? Are there new funding sources from the state or from the feds to help pay for these? Or do we move some of this into the strategic plan that's not there now? So, yeah, we're just really buying time as much as anything, I think. Is that,
But yes, we have begun talking about it. Like, we talked about it in our cabinet meeting this week. And we don't want to get to the point where we're going to have a fiscal cliff. So.
but anytime you use one-time funds for ongoing, you're cliffing yourself, yes. So we're trying to be smart about that, and we're planning, as we bring you the multi-year budgets, we always take that into account when we show you the out years.
Right, do you have another one, Carolyn?
I had one in my head.
Oh, okay.
My concern was that we continue to support our attendance programs as much as we possibly can, because would that not generate some additional funds for our district?
This is using one-time funds to generate ongoing general fund revenue if we can get kids to school, absolutely. So, and it doesn't take many kids coming to school to add up to $20,000 either, so, yep. 2 high school students coming to school would pretty much do it. Yeah.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the revised budget for the Learning Recovery Emergency Block Grants for 2025.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Or abstentions? Okay, thank you, Steve.
Great, thank you so much. You will see these changes reflected in second interim next month, because you get to hear from me again, sorry. But anyway, thank you.
All right, item F1, Deb?
I think I'll just say one thing, because it's a long weekend coming, which is super great. Steve and crew have been working on schedules. We're working on a lot of school schedules right now. We're trying to standardize the elementary start and end times. There's a huge difference in instructional minutes between our elementary schools, so Steve and crew have been madly working to try to make those the same. The start and end times of our elementary schools, and getting our middle schools closer in the instructional minutes as well. And then the high school schedule is being worked on. So there's a lot of schedule work being done. Super appreciate it all, those teams that have come together, and transportation and they're magicians. Trying to put all the transportation pieces together to make these schedules work. So anyway, I just appreciate all of the work that's going on there. And there's a lot going on. I'm really grateful for this district. We had a little emergency today, and one of the principals shared how much he appreciates the fences. The fences that are on that campus. We had a lockdown today at one of our schools. We were able to keep people out that should not be in. And so anyway, I really appreciate our staff and their ability to be flexible and respond to situations to keep our kids safe. And I think that's all I'll say tonight.
Right, item F2, board members report. Carolyn, go ahead.
We were supposed to have a visit from the California State Department of Education Chancellor's Office. They were coming to look at our residency program for our student teachers, but she couldn't get out of Seattle. I guess her plane was snowed in. But hopefully she will be coming the first part of March, so that'll be a nice visit from the State Department.
I have one quick question. I don't know if I don't have anything for the board to report, but we did get a question during the public comments. Is that anything that, will you all follow up, or is that going to be posted somewhere?
I'm writing little notes to myself. I'm sending myself an email.
Okay.
And I did capture their questions about the RFQs being disseminated and how will they be notified, and then do we have an obligation to get back to the state and how that process works?
Okay.
So captured those questions, we will get the answers, and in the next week or so, and I'll give that to the board. And then we will find the person who asked those questions, and I think we have their contact information here, and get back to them.
perfect, thank you.
And then there were a couple of other little things there
Congestion?
as well, about traffic and
Might
parent
add.
involvement in the interview process, and then how many kids are being served through tutoring.
And there was a comment about the hiring process and questions around fire engagement.
Yep, I've got that.
Might add Oak Manor to that congestion part too. We had a fire truck that couldn't get through.
We have congestion.
Yeah.
Carolyn was saying that we should add Oak Manor to the list. We have congestion at all of our schools. It's especially bad around Calpella. Calpella is landlocked. It's really hard to come up with solutions around there, but during school pickup and drop-off times, congestion is bad everywhere. It's just especially bad when there's at Calpella.
And children out in the roads and, yeah.
And I have to agree with our speaker. I think we could do some communication with parents about patience and kindness. And I, for one, have been, flipped the bird a couple of times by our parents, who I love, but they get in a hurry and they get frustrated with the traffic, and then we all lose our tempers sometimes in traffic. So anyway, reminders to our families about safety around schools and kindness and all of that would be super.
Just related on that topic, I've noted when I go to the high school how few bicycles there are compared to when I was there. And it's like nobody's riding their bicycles in our flat town anymore. And I don't know, when we're talking about these congestion issues and then there's problems with student fitness, I just don't, there's not a there, but like some encouragement of parents to be like, you kids can walk or ride your bikes. We don't have to drive you every day. There's these huge racks out in front of Ukiah High that used to be like just packed full, and now there's like one bike. So I don't know if that would be a solution for these issues, but that she was raising in the public comment. But
Yeah, and I know there was a question about, going to the board or, about the traffic surrounding it. I know we can kind of control maybe messaging to parents, but yeah, I would encourage somebody to go to the county board or, specifically, if we're talking Ritter Valley, the CHP or Sheriff's Department about extra patrolling.
Yes.
They're
To
out
take-
there usually, but they
yeah.
can't get through the traffic.
Yeah. Okay, item G1. Do you have a list for me?
Yes.
Student expulsions and readmissions. I'm looking for a motion about the expel, suspend enforcement for student 0102-13-2025 for 2 semesters from spring 2025 through fall 2023.
I so move.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And abstentions? Thank you.
And just to clarify, that was through fall of 2025.
Sorry,
Not
thank you.
23, that's okay.
I'll read better.
It's a funny.
We're looking for a motion to expel student 02-02-13-2025 as an outright expulsion for spring 2025 and fall 2025.
I so move.
We have a second?
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
And abstentions?
I did a late aye. I am sorry.
All right, looking for a motion to expel student 03-02-13-2025 as an outright expulsion for spring 2025 and fall 2025.
I so move. Oh, sorry.
go ahead.
And I'll
Second.
second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Thank you. Just 3? All right, thank you. Are we planning?
Next date is March 5th.
March 5th, and is this at noon?
And while she's checking, as a reminder, we need to have another board meeting the first week in March. So we'll have Deb reach out to you all to see what will work best that week. And that will be to deal with any personnel actions that we need to take before March 15th.
Yeah.
Fred, who went to the last two?
So for February, it was Carolyn and I.
Yeah.
And the month before?
It was Tyler, Rebecca, and I.
I could do it.
What is the date on there?
3/5.
Yeah, we had to move that because we've got interviews.
Oh, that's right.
So, well, I had moved it to March the 6th because there are interviews going on.
What do you have interviews for?
We are setting up the Calpella principal interviews. So
Okay.
So
Okay,
we're
so
looking
the
at
6th?
noon on the
I
6th.
don't know how long those interviews will go, so.
Deb, the 6th at what time? 12?
What day of the week is that, Deb?
Thursday.
Thursday?
I think I'm due in
Okay,
the last
so-
2 months.
Deb, we have final round interviews though on the 5th. I doubt we'll go past noon. I think the 5th would be better, just because then we have time to adjust the agenda before it has to get published on Friday. Personally, I prefer that.
So the 5th, going once, going twice.
I am available on the 5th.
So Zoe and Tyler?
Okay. Zoe, Tyler, and I?
Okay,
On the 5th, 6th, right?
at noon.
Not the 6th.
The 5th, 6th.
That's a Wednesday.
Yeah.
Okay.
And who did you guys land on?
Tyler, Zoe, and I.
Myself.
Tyler and who?
Zoe.
Zoe.
And Fred.
And remember also on the 24th, we have our board workshop on the mid-year plan update.
On the what?
Our mid-year plan, our strategic plan mid-year update.
Okay.
I shouldn't have said mid-year plan update. So we have a board workshop, a 2-hour workshop from 5 to 7
at
on the
5?
24th.
Yeah. Yeah, March.
February 24th.
March 24th.
No,
Yeah.
February 24th.
That's a Monday?
Yes.
Oh, that's another, I got it all screwed up. Okay.
5 to 7.
Jeez. I don't want to go, that's too much. Okay.
I'm out of town all that week from work.
Okay.
I can't make that one.
Oh, yes, I do have it down. Oh, okay, good.
We did not. We need to pull the
do we have
board
another
and
one on the
see.
24th? 'Cause I
I'm
have it
thinking,
down there
board,
also.
would you like to
Might be
set the
the
special
Thursday.
meeting date now while
Yeah,
your
I have
calendars are all
February. I
out?
did have it down. So I
Okay,
also have it in
so
March, so I
I
probably
am
doubled up.
thinking, Deb,
See if you have that. Or you have something
either
on
the
24th of
3rd or
March.
the 5th.
No?
Yeah.
Oh, you do? It is
I
a.
have the special education board work.
Or
Oh,
the,
okay.
or the
Okay.
6th of March.
Okay, so I'm not totally crazy here, John. All right.
What time of a meeting are you thinking? Is this 5 o'clock? or
I
just
think
a-
so, early evening. We'll probably do closed session first,
Oh.
just to make sure you don't have any questions, and we will make it about, it shouldn't be a long meeting.
I think we have recruitment.
The meeting we're about to set up right now, the special meeting regarding personnel actions.
The one you're going to, B.
We have Sonoma.
Hold on,
March.
John.
John, do you have, go ahead.
B and I have on our calendars March 24th from 5 to 7 p.m. UUSD Special Education Board Workshop.
Yeah.
So is there one on the February and March?
On March and February both.
Oh, okay.
And right now, we're talking about March 5th and March 3rd
Sonoma
for
State
a
is here.
quick board meeting.
What day?
The 5th, Wednesday, the 5th.
So let's do the 6th. Let's do the 6th. Let's do the 6th. Can we do the 6th?
I could do the 6th.
I'm going to be missing that one, but that's okay.
Okay.
There's,
It's fine.
the boardroom's booked for summer school meetings.
What about the 3rd?
Back up there.
It's booked
Student of the month, oh, no,
No.
for district curriculum council.
What about the 4th?
Till 5,
We can't do the 4th, student of the month.
if they get done, if that meeting gets done on time.
Is that the DAC, you said?
Same for the summer school, those are
DCC,
booked
okay.
in the boardroom until 5 o'clock.
Well, we can move the summer school meeting. I don't want to move DCC, though.
Who's on first?
We're still talking, so hold for a second. So Deb, what is this, well, the 6th, we're going to lose some board members.
Just me, but that's fine. I'm the only one. Everyone else can come on the 6th? You should do it.
The
Sonoma State
5th,
is
we're
here on the
losing
5th,
Carolyn.
aren't they? Yeah, they're here. Sonoma State.
Which date was everyone available?
Everyone is not available. We're going to lose a board member either on the 5th or on the 6th.
But the 3rd you wouldn't?
You'd lose me on the 3rd.
Okay.
You could do it on the 6th. It's just the.
I'm going to pick the 6th.
Okay. Go for it, Deb.
And we're going to meet at 5 o'clock if that works. Can you, everybody get here by 5? We'll do closed session first, and then we'll do just our personnel actions. I'd say like no more than an hour.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. Fred's the president. No.
We can get that done in 15 minutes.
Special board meeting Thursday, March 6th,
Okay.
5 o'clock.
5 o'clock.
And you're thinking about
1 hour?
So I'm skipping.
It might be fun. You should come.
Okay, and the other one is on the 24th, Monday, the February, the 20th.
Yeah, so just to clarify the dates we talked about, agenda planning is Wednesday the 5th at 12 p.m. The 6th is a special board meeting at 5 p.m., 5 to 6 here. February 24th, we have a 5 to 7 workshop, and then March 24th.
Deb will put it, look in TGIF. Deb will have all the dates in TGIF.
The most recent one will be the 24th of February.
Thank you.
You got it.
Did you guys have that? I assume you have that on your calendar.
No, I did not.
February?
I had
Probably
both.
should have, but I
You had
didn't.
both? Okay.
And that's at 5. 5?
I think it's February 24th, March 24th.
Right.
February and March.
I thought it was a stutter. I didn't, okay.
February 24, March 24.
Ba-ba-ba.
We have lots of board meetings.
We-
Y'all want workshops? No.
You got him.
We're doing workshops?
You're doing workshops.
Put her
Okay.
information.
Okay.
Oh, what did I just do?
Oh, cool.
Who was that?
Cynthia Hume.
Yeah, I like her. She needs to stop our traffic.
Yes, adjourn.
I so move.
Get